Today's guest is Barry Strohm, who has been taking photographs of spirits and ETs and fairies and other paranormal experiences for, I think, several decades now. He's also written several books, and he has a website with all these pictures on it. And I advise everyone to go there and check that out. It's really interesting. He also has a YouTube channel. I think it's just under your name, Barry Strohm, where he does channeling sessions with different spiritual masters and other guidance, spiritual guidance for people. So Barry, welcome to the show.
Wait, thank you. It's an honor.
Of
Happy to
course.
be here.
Well, I'm happy to have you. Um, so I imagine that when you were a kid and you thought about what you wanted to do when you grew up, it probably wasn't taking pictures of dead people.
No, no, it was like the last thing I ever thought about. I only ever wanted to work in construction. My dad was a construction project manager, and I he used to take me on the jobs, and all I wanted to do was work in construction. So I did. So,
And that's very different than what you do now. Well, we were talking before, and you said that you didn't even believe in spirits, ghosts, and stuff until you were 61. What was the catalyst for that?
well, uh, I was one of those guys that worked 6, 7 days a week, and I was running stone quarries and trucking and all the good things. So I really didn't have much time for anything else. So when we got out of the business, I had bought an antique gallery, which at the time I didn't even own an antique, but I had a partner and he wanted me to buy this, and we did, and we fixed it up, and it was in Pennsylvania near Gettysburg, about 30,000 square foot building, and we had it full of antiques. The people that worked for me would tell me that some really strange stuff was taking place in the store. And I'm thinking, I don't know what they're drinking or smoking, but it's what they're telling me is impossible. So situations changed, and had to. I came back and I started spending time at the store, and bizarre things started happening to me. So I brought a professional team in to do an investigation. I had never been around a psychic before. And, I didn't believe in them. I didn't think what they did was accurate. So we're doing this investigation. The lights are out, and the psychic says, "We have a little girl here. Her name's Clarissa, and she wants to show you her pink doll." I'm going, "Yeah, right." So anyway, okay, tell her to show us the doll. So we start moving through the store, and the lights are out, and we hit the first aisle, and I said, "Should we turn here?" And the psychic says, "No." Goes to the next aisle. "Should we turn here?" "No." Go to the next aisle. "Should we turn here?" "Yes." And there was only one way, so we turned left. Went about 20 feet, and she says, "I've lost her. I can't speak with her anymore. Don't know where she is." I said, "Okay, that's pretty good proof we got a little bit of BS here." So about half an hour later, we're taking a break, and I went to turn on the light so that everybody didn't kill themselves in the store. And I'm walking back the aisle from the other direction. And when I reached the point where we lost her, I noticed that there's a pink doll in the case, an antique doll. And she had led us through 3 commands to this doll that I really did not even know was there. I went, "Oh my." So, and then some other things happened. We got uh, the team got some amazing apparition pictures in the store. And I started to understand just how many ghosts we had in this place. And we were at Gettysburg, near Gettysburg, so I started going out and spending time at night on the battlefield taking pictures. And I was getting amazing, unbelievable pictures out there of these spirits. Uh, I mean, we had attachments in the store. We had an oil painting. His name was, as it turns out, the spirit attachment's name was Joseph. And at this point, I was starting to communicate with him a bit. And we anybody that was psychic that would walk through that area, Joseph would try to talk to them. And he was bitching about the music that we were playing in the store. So one day I'm up at the front counter, and this woman comes up. She says, I want to buy an oil painting back here on the wall. It's speaking to me. Well, with antiques, people are saying it speaks to them. So I go back and I look, and it's Joseph. And I said, exactly how is he speaking to you? And she said, well, when I came, she was a psychic. I didn't realize it. She said, when I walked by the oil painting, he said, would you please take me home? I really hate the music that they play here. So I want him to be happy. So I'm going to buy the oil painting, take him home. So the woman buys a $1,500 oil painting because it was speaking to her. Then we found out we had a portal in the basement. Now that's when it really got interesting at the store. I put infrared cameras on it, and you could see them coming in and out of the store through the wall. And we'd go down and have sessions with people, and I could talk to them. Uh, People say orbs aren't ghosts. Uh-uh. We had an orb down there we got to know. Had a newspaper reporter come in one time, and I actually had this orb do spiral turns in front of him that he got on his camera on command. So that was my indoctrination. Plus, then I started to really, really spend time on the battlefield.
So I remember hearing you talk about how the psychic connected with the painting and he didn't like the music. And I wanted to ask you when I listened to that the first time, what kind of music were you guys playing? It was so bad.
It wasn't that bad. We never did learn what he wanted. We were just playing things like we would play a little bit of classical, some, a little bit of Elvis. We played a little bit of everything. But I guess, I don't know. Whatever it is, I guess he's happy now.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it's too modern for him. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. He had his own idea. I'll give him credit for that.
So, you said you had a portal in the basement and you set up an infrared camera. And now, what kind of portal is this?
It was a spirit portal. Uh, it was where they would come into to this plane. Um, I don't know, but I do know that it was an amazing room downstairs. I mean, any of the psychics that ever came in were just absolutely in shock downstairs in that room. We had them coming from far away, just asking if they could come downstairs and see this thing. But no, you'd see the orbs that come through the wall, and we'd have them that they'd actually come up. I have pictures of orbs with faces in them, of the spirits, and they'd actually come up and smile in front of the darn cameras in orb form. It was, I mean, it was one of the most bizarre places. If you're into the paranormal, everybody wanted to go down into that room to see it.
That's crazy. Have you ever heard of a guy named Chris Bledsoe?
I've heard the name.
Okay, so he was on the History Channel and on a show called Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, and basically he's been having what they call UFOs show up to his house for, I guess, decades, but they show up as orbs. And they've been doing photography as well, just like you, and they'll see faces inside the orbs. They also see animals inside the orbs. It's
Oh yeah.
crazy.
I have pictures. I have pictures of a dog's head in there just as clear as can be. And the dog it was an area of the battlefield. This dog was a mascot of one of the Union regiments, and it was a Pennsylvania regiment, and the dog got killed. And I had pictures of the orb at the exact spot that with the dog's head in it, where this dog got killed. And when you look at it, they have an oil painting in Harrisburg where they have this dog, and it looks just like the dog that's in the oil painting. So no, they animal spirits are just as real as human spirits.
Oh, that's
I
what.
got a bunch of animal stories too, but
Yeah,
that's another issue.
that's wild. So, well, I guess what I was kind of getting at is that the the aliens or the extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings
Yes,
are almost it's like they're in the same realm as the dead or something like that. Do you know anything about that?
yes, yeah. The extraterrestrials have the same soul energies that humans have. And there's a reason for that. The reason is soul energies have been around since creation. That's billions of years ago. Humans have walked the earth for 250,000 years. Now, where do you think your soul energy was before humans walked the earth? Well, we've all been aliens in the past for hundreds, if not thousands of years, of lifetimes. So you got billions of years that soul energy. It wasn't just sitting there waiting for humans to come. So we have exactly the same soul energy. That's why I can channel aliens or souls from other planets that have passed. I wrote 2 books channeling an alien spirit, and that is why I could do it.
So when I first listened to your episode with Jeff Mara, one of the first things I thought of was how, so I don't have the ability to see these things, not in my waking life. Now, if I'm in like a dream state or astral projection, then sure. But are these things all around us all the time, everywhere?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. No, I've got a very unique ability. I was sent back to do this, so I can. All I really have to do is think about a spirit, and it'll basically be present if I'm trying to communicate with it. But oh yeah, every once in a while I'll go in. People are sent to me, and as we were talking before, there's no coincidences. I'm forever running into people that need information. I mean, I'll be eating in a restaurant, and the waitress will come over, and I'll see a ghost standing behind him or her, and then I know that that spirit has a message, because it's very difficult for spirits on the other side to get messages to those in a life plane. So they'll set it up. I mean, one time I was at the store, and I had an individual that I knew. They had lived in a little town where I grew up, and he always smoked cigars. And I was sitting in my office, and all of a sudden I started smelling a cigar. Walked out, asked Connie, I said, "Anybody smoking out here?" No. Went outside, no one was smoking outside. About an hour later, in comes his son. And we had no idea that Scott was coming into the store. I hadn't seen him for 20, 30 years. And he comes into the store, and his father, Harry, that smoked the cigars, had a message for him. So they had tied this whole thing together, and in comes this person. And I knew right away that I had to channel a message for him. So, I mean, and this happens almost all the time for me.
Now, do they find it difficult to communicate because most of us are not aware of them and that
Yes.
we're not tuned into that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's very difficult for them to get messages. We do our radio show on Para X called Channeling History, and we've been doing it now for over 3 years. I'm actually running out of ideas for the show, but we've channeled hundreds of historic figures on this thing. I mean, we've done Jack Kennedy, told us what happened in his assassination, even gave us the name of the guy that shot him, and it wasn't Oswald. So I mean, but these spirits all basically want to come in and talk again, especially people in show business.
That's awesome. People are going to hate me if I don't ask you what happened to Kennedy.
It was he was killed by CIA people. There were actually 4 shooters there. Um, Howard Hunt was actually a lot of the guys that did the Watergate break-in were involved. Howard Hunt actually did a deathbed confession that agreed exactly with what we were told. So it was set up. Lyndon Johnson was behind it. Kennedy told Johnson that he did not want to have him on the ticket second term. Johnson wanted to be president, so he pulled the trigger, basically.
Yeah, and that's what the literature that's coming out is kind of pointing towards. So that's a good validation of that. And that's kind of, we all know it deep down.
Yeah.
We all know that they were involved, but it's one of those things where, you know, you don't want to believe it. And it makes you wonder if they're willing to do that, what else are people in the government willing to do? It's probably not so nice.
Basically anything. No,
Yeah, literally.
we're real careful what we get involved in.
Well, but they can't kill our souls, right? So in that
No,
sense, we're
no, that
safe.
that's where the everlasting life thing comes from. It's the energy of your soul.
Yeah. And that ties into the some of the Christian stuff and the texts and from other different religions and things like that. So I do you have one of those ghost boxes?
Yeah, yeah.
So I've never met anyone with one of those. What is that?
What it was, I took a portable radio and I went online. They showed me how to hack this thing to make a ghost box out of it because this was 15 years ago before they were commercially available. And what it does is it scans the dial very rapidly and it sets up this type of energy field. So I was scanning the entire AM dial in like 12 seconds. And you turn it on and it sets this background noise up. And then you can actually hear the voices coming in, speaking over top of that background noise. So I mean, I don't use them anymore because I can just talk to them. But no, we've done some amazing things with ghost boxes back before I could do this.
And I guess that's a technology that anyone could use, right? If they didn't have your ability.
Yes, absolutely. It's just the same as we started channeling and communicating using a channeling board. Wasn't a Ouija board, but we had been the spirit guide set up that we met some people in Salt Lake City that were doing board channeling. They did it for 2 generations. Connie winds up on jury duty with one of the women, and that's how we get involved with that little setup. But it's a round board, letters and numbers on the outside in a circle, has a glass surface on it. We used glass on glass and lubricated it with some lemon oil. And when she and I would put our fingers on, this thing would fly. We've got some videos from the early years where this is how we would spell it. Then I started to realize that when it hit a letter, I was hearing the words in my head. So then we channeled for a while, just hitting first letters of words. And the guides said to me, you don't need that board anymore. Just have confidence. And I started just speaking their words. But it was a process. It took years, but we started the easiest way is to learn to use a channeling board. The guides gave us a prayer of protection to use when we first started. First thing they ever said was never ever invite evil. So you have to control what you do in this. I mean, it's evil is very very real, and we when we do channeling history radio show, we always do the prayer of protection because we're opening these channels. And yes, evil can come through if you're not really well protected, which we are. We have 100% faith, so it's not like they're going to come in and walk all over us. We have a lot of protection.
Yeah, I think a lot of people worry about that when they think about like automatic writing or channeling or mediumship or anything like that, is the protection aspect of it. Now, um is that prayer of protection, is that something that is on your website or is that well known?
Yeah, yeah. We put it up on every one of our videos. Because when we're doing the radio show, I always have to put a photo show up on YouTube. So I always have that uh, a shot of that prayer that you can look at any of our channeling history videos and see that prayer. It's on everything we do.
So then saying that prayer and feeling it and having the belief behind it, that's sort of what crystallizes the protection around you.
Oh, it's faith in God. I mean, you can an atheist can pray all day, and it's not going to help him. And I do not suggest that an atheist uses a Ouija board. That would not end well. And that's why you hear a lot of the bad stories. It's because these people are not protected. They don't know what they're doing. But my wife and I have zero doubts about the existence of God. I mean, I channel him every Wednesday on our weekly message from Jesus. So, I mean, when he comes in, I can feel his energy. I know whether it's him or anybody else trying to come through, and there is no doubt. I mean, when we first got involved with it, I had doubts, like anybody else. First time he comes in, I'm thinking, oh no, there's no way Jesus is coming in to channel with us. I mean, he's busy doing a lot of other things. So he comes in and he says, I know you have doubts, and I don't blame you, but I'm going to give you a special prayer of healing, and I'm going to have you heal others with this prayer, and that will be your proof. And then he gives me a name. I say, okay, who is this? You will know. I was speaking at a convention in Salt Lake, and turns out the woman in charge of the convention was the name that he gave me. Went over, said the prayer for her, helped her out for many years. And I started using the prayer. And usually I'll hear in my head, the words will say, healer, or, heal him, or use the prayer with something. I'll get a tip, because not all prayers can be answered. There's a lot of illness that's in your life plan. It's something you have to learn. And I can say the prayer for a person that's following their life plan, and it's not going to have any effect unless God decides to come in and do a miracle, which he does do also. I've had him do a miracle on me, but believe me, after what I've been through, there is no doubt.
So, how would somebody know if, let's say, they have an illness or something like that, that that's part of the blueprint, or is it just something that can be resolved in that incarnation?
They will never tell me or anyone the exact time of their death. So, I mean, I've had people asking, how long are you going to live? Well, I'm not going to answer that one because it affects your life plan. You'll change what you do, or whatever. There's generally multiple places of time of death on a life plan. They'll they'll work you past that. If you're doing good things, the odds are they're going to answer prayers and heal you. So you really don't know. Like, I've had things wrong with me all my life. I've I've had a lot of painful things. I had polio when I was 7, for instance. I'm old enough to before Salk. But there's a lot of things that you have to pay. Many things are trending from your prior lives. You build a karma in that life. And there are certain things that you may have done wrong and you may have to do some suffering for in this life. Uh, for instance, if you're a person that makes great wealth and God blesses you to make that wealth with guidance, and you don't use that wealth to help others as well, he wants you to be really happy and get your rewards. But if you got excess wealth, he wants you to help others with it. Individuals that don't, I guess they think they're going to take their billions with them when they die, and they find out the hard way they don't. They're building a karma for their future life, because in their future life, they're going to live a life of poverty. There's always a yin and a yang, a balance in things. And that future life he has karmas that they're going to have to work off. So it's just simply the way it is. And you don't really know whether a sickness is going to be healed or not. 5 years ago, I had a heart attack. And when they went in to do the surgeries, they couldn't find any damage after they'd shown it to the heart damage to me, because God stepped in and did a miracle, because he wanted me to keep doing what I'm doing with helping others. So you never really know, and it's always his choice. When I say the prayer, all I'm doing is asking him to direct his energies. So, but it's amazing. I've probably healed 30, 40 people in my life.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think that part of the reason why we come here is to not know what's going to happen. It's sort of a game where we're veiled from, what the real plan is. So I think that's a big part of the actual process of being here, is accepting that you don't know and then surrendering to that.
Absolutely. You come in with no knowledge. As soon as you go back over, you will start to reacquire all of the knowledge from your prior lives. The whole idea is that you are supposed to learn. Yeah, I mean, your birth is also a test for your parents, because it's how your parents raise you. So everybody is tested by every other life. So there's a total interdependency between every life. I mean, you're never having your own deal. You're always influencing others. You're helping others, or you're not. You're hurting others, or you're not. So there's a great balance, but it's an incredible plan that God puts together for all of us.
I hope so. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that when we're suffering, but
Indeed. Tell me.
yeah, yeah, and everybody suffers. You know, the rich, the poor, everyone.
Absolutely.
Um, so we're all in that together to some extent, more than others. But since we're on the topic of death and life after death, what? So when someone dies, immediately, like right when they die, what happens? Do you know that?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I've seen it. When you pass, your soul leaves your body immediately. That's why with people with the NDEs say they're looking down all the time and they're seeing their body. If the soul, there's going to be people there, souls, your family, angels, you'll be assisted because at first it's very traumatic for the soul because obviously they probably are not expecting it unless they've had a long illness. If they do, they're in coma. The soul actually goes in and out before death and prepares. But for those with a sudden death, it can be very traumatic. When an atheist dies, they're expecting nothing. So it's incredibly traumatic for an atheist. And they tell us that heaven is going to basically be what you expect it to be. If you're expecting a tunnel, you'll go through a tunnel. If you're expecting to see your family, your deceased members, they'll be there to greet you. Stop and think about this. If you're an atheist, you expect nothing. So what you will get initially will be nothing because you get what you wish for and expect. So it takes some of them will stay earthbound because of it. And that's why we see the attachments like Joseph on that oil painting because they've had an expectation and they don't know what to do. That's why we see soldiers on the battlefield. Now they're mostly making the decision to stay there to be with their buddies because I've talked with them at length, so I have a little bit of understanding of what goes on the battlefield. But it is basically your soul is going to come right out of your body. Your body starts to rot because there's no more use for it. Uh, when I was doing paranormal stuff, investigating, I was never very successful in graveyards because the souls leave the bodies, and I really I was having much more success any place but going into graveyards, so I just never did it. But they leave that body. There's some people, uh, maybe if you had this great physical attraction and loved the way your body looked, they may stick with it. But the whole idea is to get up into heaven so that you can get your new life plan and you can stay in heaven. You always have free will. You can have free will to come back. You make the decision there, just as you make all the decisions in your human life from your free will. And the free will is the great test. It's how you use that.
So a lot of people are probably thinking, I'm not coming back ever again. I imagine we'll have a different perspective once we get on the other side and you can sort of integrate all of your lives in the totality of your knowledge. But why might somebody want to come back here, even if they've had a hard life?
Very simple. They want to advance in the realms of heaven. There are 7 realms plus a lower level of nothingness where the really bad guys go. So if you're in the 4th or 5th level, you cannot visit any of the souls that are in levels above you. They can, when you're in an upper level, you can always come back. You can come down and visit people, but you can never go up from the level you're in. And the advantages of the upper levels far exceed what you can do in a lower level. Um, we've we've channeled with individuals with mobsters They're in the second, third level. And it's just like they're still alive. I mean, they have weak energies. They're hard to channel down there, but they're living almost in heaven, like they almost like they. I mean, there were still big things they were worried about was the fact that they got caught. So they obviously didn't advance, and they stay where they are. But your soul, this God is in the seventh level, and when you can get into the seventh level, and it takes thousands of lifetimes, much service to Him, then you can do almost as much things as God can do. You can think, you can be on other planets. I mean, it's much, much different up in the upper levels. So when the soul gets back, they've learned those lessons. So they don't have to relearn that same lesson. Now, if you committed suicide, you negate your life plan and you have to relearn all of the lessons. So that's why suicide is like one of the biggest no-nos. And if you commit suicide, you have to watch all the suffering that you cause. I mean, just like when a woman has an abortion, she will meet the soul of that child when she goes back over. So it's everything, as I say, has a balance. But people come back because they want to advance in heaven. Now you can stay where you are, like many people in the sixth level or fifth decide that they're not coming back. We channeled Ulysses Grant, and his wife said she is not coming back. And she's very happy where she is. He's going to reincarnate, but she's not. So it's you make your decisions. But the whole idea is to advance. You don't want to stay in those lower levels because you're just definitely limited in what heaven is for you.
Right. That's good that we have free will to come back or to not come back. Some people think that there's like a soul trap. Have you seen any evidence of that?
No, I'm not even familiar with the term.
Okay, it's almost as though the Earth is like inside some kind of virtual reality matrix, and when you die, you sort of go towards this white light, and the white light is actually a soul trap created by like archons or some kind of evil entity that forces you back into this recycling of souls.
Yeah. All the evils on earth, there's no evil in heaven. And just like uh, there's no fallen angels. I mean, my last book, we channeled 20 archangels for, and Satan is a personification of evil energy, but he was never a fallen angel.
That's kind of how I always perceived it, as though it was a lot of the religious stuff is personification of universal tendencies or human nature or something like that.
Well, let's face it, the Bible is a personification of human nature and what they wanted as a source of. I mean, the Bible is not what Jesus spoke. I mean, it's a foundation. Some of it's accurate, but Jesus never spoke of hate. Well, no, I'm sorry. Jesus spoke of living a good life. He never talked of fear. God is not to be feared, but the church creates a burning hell so that people fear God and attend their church. So there is no burning hell. There is that lower level of nothingness, but no, it's people change the. I mean that the church changes the gospel for 1,600 years. It,
Yeah, fear and ignorance are a very good control mechanism.
oh yeah, yeah. Jesus never spoke in parables. He spoke to the uneducated, the poor. If he'd have spoke these complex parables, they'd have thrown rocks at him. I mean, it, it all becomes common sense. The underlying statement of all religions, when you speak with the leaders that have formed these religions, is do not do anything to anyone else you don't want done to you. It's that simple. You live a good life, you go to heaven, you advance. You lead a bad life, you go to heaven, you either stay where you are or you get to go down further in the realms. It's all simple.
It's a much better outlook on things than a lot of these religions. So I'm gonna pull up the pictures.
Okay.
I'm gonna go up to this top picture, and we're just gonna go down the line here
Uh-huh.
and talk about what we're looking at. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right. So what are we looking at here, right, with this statue thing, and then the what looks like smoke, and then maybe a
That
person.
is what I refer to as an ectoplasm. That's a spirit form, and that is the exact spot where the Union First Corps comes in late, and they put him into a bayonet charge without giving them time to load their muskets. And if you look closely at that form, it's in a perfect bayonet charge position. So that's where the Confederates killed this. He was a Union soldier. And that is a ghost form that we see all the time on the battlefield.
Yeah, and before you even said that, I was looking at it, trying to figure out what was going on, and it looks just like a guy running.
Yep, with a
And
bayonet. You can see him holding his musket. He is, that's a bayonet charge. That's right where he got shot.
that's awesome. All right, so this other one over here looks like a guy's face.
It's a floating head. That's a that's up on Culp's Hill, and that's you can see his beard, his eyes, but that's and notice something. That's taken in daylight. See how everything's lit up?
Yeah, it's almost like he's got a blue hint to him, and you can see the hat on it as well, which looks like those the hats that they wore in that era.
Oh yeah. No, that's a floating head of one of the soldiers. He just didn't form up everything.
So for people that might want to do this, do you have a special camera or a frame rate or some kind of specifications you have?
Yes. Ghost photography is actually very difficult. They move very, very rapidly. So you cannot use autofocus. What I would do is I would set my camera to focus fixed at about 30 feet. And I would use a very fast frame setting because they are moving incredibly fast. I have one picture in my book of an orb, and everything in the background's in perfect shape, but you can see the light trail that he left, that he was moving. And I did the math about how I was shooting like a 60th of a second. So I knew exactly how far he moved in a 60th of a second. And when I did the math, he was traveling at 450 miles per hour. So
That's awesome.
you got to really slow him down. And I would shoot. You always have to shoot flash. So you do all your flash settings. You got to shoot flash even in daylight because that helps light them up. So you do a fixed focus. You do a high speed setting. Today with the modern cameras, your speeds can be phenomenal, but you still always have to throw that flash out there with them.
So if you were to just go anywhere and set with those settings, take a picture of something in someone's house, would you probably see something?
You have to take a lot of frames because they're moving so fast around you that you have to catch them. And if something's moving really rapidly, an average night on the battlefield, I'd shoot about 300 to 400 frames, and I might get one picture.
Oh wow. Okay.
No, it's work, and I would use three different cameras. I would use three cameras with different settings, and then when I would really get into something, I'd fire all the. I just keep firing like all three cameras as fast as they'd reload, so that I'd be trying. I always wanted to get the same image on two cameras because that was better verification for me for what was taking place.
Right, that makes sense. So this one down
Yeah,
here, we've
this is
got.
an amazing picture. This was taken the night of Clarissa's doll by the professional ghost hunters, and that the guy is real. That's one of the members of the team. But if you look over his left shoulder, you'll see the image of a lady, And it's so real, we thought that she was part of the team. And if you look at the other shoulder, you'll see another ghost appearing over his shoulder as well. Both of them are in color. And that woman, when you blow it up, you just think you're looking at a human. But there are two ghosts in there looking over his shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, it really does look like someone's just standing there. Except there's this thing
Price tag,
down on her neck, so it's almost
price
like the
tag on the
light.
mirror.
Right, yeah, it's going through her neck, so she can't be real.
Yeah. Oh no, that's a ghost.
That's crazy. So what happened when everyone saw this? Was this something that they were accustomed to, or did people freak out?
No, no, this is a holy crap photograph. I mean, this is about as good as it gets. And there's a story to the mirror. Apparently, this woman is was attached to the was an attachment. Well, we sold the mirror. Guy buys it down in West Virginia. About 6 months later, he comes in, and I said, "Well, how's everything going?" He said, "Man, we had problems. My house burned down." Oh man. I said, "Well, what happened?" They said, "Well, the house caught fire, and the fire company came, and they thought they put the fire out, and they left, and it started up again, and the house burns to the ground." I said, "But you know what? Remember that mirror that we bought in the store? When the fire company came the first time, a woman told the fireman to please carry this mirror out of the house, and that mirror is the only piece of furniture that survived the fire. The ghost formed, told the fireman to get the mirror out, and that mirror is the only piece that survived that house fire."
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. A&E wanted to do the story about this on I guess it was My Ghost Story or something. It was probably 15 years ago, and they wanted to fake the story, so I wouldn't let them do it. So
So usually when people think of spirit attachments, they think of something bad because of all the fear propaganda in the media, in the
yeah,
news or the movies. Um, Now are these attachments, they don't sound necessarily bad. I mean, unless she burnt the house down.
yeah.
No, I mean, maybe she
Well,
did. I don't know.
that was my first fear when I heard this story. I went, "Oh my God, what's coming?"
So, these objects that have attachments,
Mhm.
they're not necessarily bad. I mean, are
Oh no,
they?
no, I have Clarissa's doll here. Hand me Clarissa's doll. No, no, Clarissa's. That's Clarissa's doll. She still comes here and plays with it. I'll be doing videos and people will see this in the background and say the doll just moved. But no, this is spirit attachment on this right here. And you can see where I keep it. I keep it right by my desk, so there's no fear.
Yeah, that's another reason why I wanted to have you on here because you're sort of, I was just watching a TV show and it was about ghosts and it was all fear stuff. And from what it sounds like, the real thing isn't all that scary. Not that, evil doesn't exist, because I'm sure
No,
you can get into trouble, but 99% of it probably isn't that.
no, no, it's most of them. They're humans. They're the same as you are. You're just looking at the personification of their soul. When you look at us, we're the human form that soul decided to take. That's the only difference. They're in another dimension, but nothing fear.
Oh, that's good to know. So this one is the fairy.
Yes, it is.
So let's start from the left and go to the right here.
Okay. I have probably 100 frames of fairies on the battlefield. This is some of the most vivid ones that I took. The one on the left, that was that's large. That's that thing was probably about 2 foot in size. The one I took the other one because the one in the middle just had a really nice look to it, nice and clear. The one on the by the pump, Now, this is one that you can tell how big it is because it was back at the pump and you can look at the window panes in back of it. So in this one, you can get an idea of size. So that thing is probably about 18 inches in reality. And the other one, the one on the end, quite often they have that little thing on their heads. And you'll notice it has a green spot on the top. The guides told me that that was a male fairy.
Yeah, so I mean, if that were a bug, that'd be a really big bug.
Oh my God, yes.
Uh-huh.
That's the point. And did the first frame by the railroad tracks, that's the biggest one. That was taken, that was only probably about 5 feet in front of me. The one on the one with the pump, that was probably about 30 foot away. But I use that one because it gives such a good description of size.
So yeah, this one on the end, that I like that one really well because you can see the shape of this thing. It looks very humanoid, whereas
Mhm.
the other ones are, they're fairy-like, but also bug-like at the same
Yeah.
time. But this one, it's like it has legs. I mean, it's probably the same one, but it's just from a different angle.
No, they're different.
Okay.
They're all in much different locations on the battlefield.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, I really like that one. I mean,
Yeah, that one's pretty amazing. And
it
it's got some
is.
size to it. I mean, it was probably over a foot in size.
So now we're gonna look at the spaceship.
Yes. Well, it's actually a drone.
Okay.
The dot that you're seeing through it, that's the moon. So
Okay.
the yellow thing, the moon was in the background when I took that particular frame. So one night I'm out on the battlefield and I'm driving my wife's car, which was a convertible. And I was lazy that night, so I'm just taking shots outside driving down the road. And I shoot the camera and I see this thing out there. I went, what in the hell is this? So I started firing all three cameras. And I wound up, I have about 40, 45 frames of this in different locations. It's different sizes. And it actually followed me down the road for about a mile. So I have pictures taken down the road that I'm shooting. I'm thinking, I'm out here by myself. I'm not really sure what I'm looking at because I was watching on the back of the cameras. I could see what I was getting for photography. And as I say, it's down on the ground at times. It's in the air. It's following me. And I have a bunch of frames of this thing on three different cameras. So there is no doubt it's real. So I went back and I asked the guy, we were doing the alien book at that time. And Mu was the alien name of the alien that we were channeling. And he was a blue, stood about 7.5 feet in light, but he was past. So I'm channeling his spirit. So I said, Mu, what was that thing last night? What followed me? And he said, oh, that was one of our drones. They wanted to see what you were doing. So
Have
that
you
is an honest to God picture of an alien drone.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you ever seen like a UFO or something like that before, or was that the first one?
Um, I actually saw a real one. Uh, I saw a reptilian.
Huh.
Little background.
Right.
Once again, we're writing the book. And a big point that they were making is that I wasn't supposed to fear them.
Yep.
They tested me to see if I really do fear them. So my wife has been abducted. We know exactly what happened, how it happened, but it's a real honest to God abduction. It was done on her. So we had an apartment by the antique gallery in Pennsylvania. I woke up in the middle of the night, and old people sleep with night lights. So because you're gonna make these trips and stuff. So anyway, I wake up and I look over and I see this form standing by the bed. And I sit up, I look at it, and it's this short-nosed reptilian. And I felt no fear over this thing, believe it or not. This is what Tess was about. So I look at him and I'm thinking, am I dreaming? Am I not? And I clear my head and I look, and he is as vivid as can be. And he looks at me and smiles. And as soon as he smiles, bam, he knocks me right back out. I wake up the next morning. Well, I thought Connie was abducted again from this thing. So I tell her about what I saw, but I do not mention to anybody the fact that it smiled at me. I'm thinking this is really pushing the envelope. You know, just be happy that you saw what you saw. So my friends had taught us channeling out in Salt Lake City. I said, I got to verify what happened. So I got them on Skype that night. Now, here's two people on the channeling board in Salt Lake on Skype Live, know nothing about why I wanted to talk to them. Absolute zero, and they're 2,000 miles away. So I said to him, I said, can you bring Moo in because I have a question for him? And they said, yes, he's here. I said, Moo, did I see an alien last night? In Salt Lake City, they come back with the answer, yes. And did you see him smile at you? Absolutely nobody knew the smile thing, only me. And that I thought that was pretty good verification.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I mean, that's if you didn't tell anybody about it, and then you've got this person telling you exactly what happened. I mean, that pretty much validates it right there.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was real. It was real.
So now, a lot of times people will be abducted or they'll have an experience, and it's not in the physical world. It's sort of in the dream state or the astral state or something like that, where they're kind of in between. Um, was this that, or were you fully awake?
No, I was fully awake. Absolutely fully awake. I thought I was when I first saw it. I mean, I literally shook my head to make sure I was awake. I mean, once he knocked me back out, when I woke up, I had doubts, but I was absolutely awake for it.
Yeah, and other people have said that they can sort of for their own protection and maybe even for our protection or something like that, they can sort of take us out of sleep and put us back into sleep, kind of like how you said he knocked you out like that in a hopefully a positive manner, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Um,
No, when Connie was abducted, she had dropped me off at the airport down in Fort Lauderdale, and she was driving up on I-95. And all of a sudden, she realizes that she's several exits ahead of where she should have been. So, I mean, she was out, probably, my guess is maybe 10 miles. The car drove itself. So she goes to the heart specialist. We did all the medical stuff, and they said, you fell asleep. No, you fall asleep on I-95. Your car doesn't go to go two exits, you're in an accident right away. So when we got to channeling with Moo, one night I said, have either of us ever been abducted? And he comes back and says, yes, Connie was. And she says, well, now we really got our interest up. So she asking, what happened? How did it take place? And he comes back. Moo is a bit of a smart ass. So he comes back and he says, it's easy when you know how. So Connie says, okay, how? He said, we use the shapeshifter. We put a shapeshifter in your car to drive it while we took you up on the ship. And apparently it was probably mental programming they did in preparation for what we do. But then they put her back in, and it's like beam me up, Scotty. That's how they really do it. That is how. And then they put her back in the car, wake her up, and she never knew what happened except now she's 10 miles further up the road.
wow. So a lot of people think that the reptilians are the bad ones or something. Now, obviously, that's not true. I've heard from plenty of people that they've met reptilian entities that are kind and they have a spiritual mission. Do you know what the purpose of this of like do they have a mission that they've told you or something?
Yeah, yeah. They've been here for well, my book has pictures of proof. My first alien book has pictures where they were here millions of years ago. I mean, they've interacted with humans since humans started to evolve. That's why you see all the hieroglyphics on the wall, on caves and all that stuff. But they're here to help. They've helped humans get over hurdles throughout time. They helped them educate them when they learned how to use fire, when the Iron Age, the Bronze Age. But they showed them these technologies. You're familiar with the Nazca lines. Well, Mu told us what all the images stand for. And in the ancient times, they were accepted more or less as a god. And they were helping the Peruvians with all this stuff back 1500 years ago. And they do these images to show their thanks for what the aliens do. So I said, Moo, there's a big spider down there is one of the forms. And I said, well, where's that come from? And he said, that was one of the spider people were helping him. And they wanted to do their image. And I said, well, how big were these spider people? And he said, oh, they stood about 7 foot. So they had 7 foot spiders down there helping them. There are alien forms. One night I asked him, I said, he was telling us about this big ship that they have that they use as a base. They hide behind Saturn. And I said, how many forms do they have on that ship? Different shapes. And he said, well, somewhere between 300 and 350 different types of aliens are on that ship because they all get along. They've learned that, our God is God of the galaxy, and these aliens are all from our galaxy, and they've learned the rules of God. It's very simply they get along. There's a governing body that controls all of the different alien types, and they all work together. So here they all are on this one big ship. And when they come in, you've got all different forms. It's a lot like the bar scene in Star Wars with Chewbacca and all the forms that are in that. They had inside information. They knew what some alien was talking to the writers on Star Wars.
It's not the first time I've heard that. I think that a lot of these shows that are ahead of their time, like Star Trek and stuff like maybe The Matrix,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're getting these messages from non-physical beings.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Um, if you look at just many of the popular songs, their guides have influenced these. Uncle John's band from the Grateful Dead. That's the story of John the Baptist. And Jerry Garcia, when we channeled him, didn't realize where those words were coming from. And it's the same bridge over troubled waters, Peter, Paul, and Mary. These are all words that the spiritual guides have brought to them.
Do we all have some kind of spirit guide?
Absolutely. Everyone has guides. They've helped you prepare your life plan. Now you can turn away from them. The easiest prayer, they hear every word of prayer. So easiest way to communicate with your guides is to pray to them. They'll hear you. They'll pass it on to whoever, to the archangels. It's an amazing situation. I was doing a channeling session one time. I was writing a conspiracy book, and I had a whole bunch of questions for different subjects. And when it was over, I asked our master guide, how many guides did I have? And she said, oh, there were about 20 here to help you tonight. Because no guide knows everything, just same as humans.
What was your conspiracy book called? I want to read that.
Spirits Speak of Conspiracies and Mysteries. We do 27 conspiracies, and that's where you can see the details of the Kennedy assassination. We do a lot of things, Bigfoot, a lot of Jack the Ripper. We actually named Jack the Ripper in that book. And you had in that book is the specific name of who killed Kennedy.
Oh, wow. Did you do 9/11?
Uh, Geez, I don't remember.
No worries.
After 10 books, I don't remember a lot of this stuff.
No, it's all right. We're all wondering what really happened with that.
Well, they're saying that there was a little bit of additional help there. I do remember that part of it, but I don't know if I did that in a book or in a prior channeling. we've got over 620 videos up on YouTube, so it's still hard to remember even who I channel anymore, especially at my age.
Yeah, I bet. Are you always sort of hearing things from the other side or seeing them? Can you turn it on and off?
I can't turn it off. I mean, I mean, we were planning to channel with Gandhi on the Channeling History show, and I always write our questions that we have to ask. It takes about 45 questions to do an hour show. So I was sitting at my desk writing questions, and I knew Gandhi was standing by my desk helping me write the questions. So I turned around. Connie was sitting in my office. I turned around and I said something to her, and all of a sudden I realized I was talking with an Indian accent. And I looked over, and Gandhi was left standing there laughing. And he says, "I think I'm going to have you do the show like that." And I did the entire hour interview with that Indian accent that he had when he was speaking. Sounds just like
Wow.
he was talking.
No, that's awesome. Do you think that we can all sort of develop these abilities to some extent, at least? And is it even a good idea to try doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you can clear your mind in meditation, you got a good shot at it. I mean, obviously, some people have gifts. Yeah, I don't think you could be able to do what I do, but I never thought I could do what I do. So we're even there.
Right.
Everybody's born with psychic abilities. As a kid, you see your imaginary play friend and you tell your parents and they go, "Oh no, you can't be seen it." So you drive it out of your mind. And you have to continuously use it. I mean, I'm trying to teach a guy board channeling. And they didn't practice for 6 weeks. Last time I was with them, they were amazing at it for beginners. They asked me to help because I said, "Have you been practicing?" He said, "No, this is the first time we've done it since we talked to you." Nothing. They couldn't move that glass for, I couldn't even move it for them with the energies I have talking to the guides. But they taught them a lesson. You don't practice, it ain't going to happen. So, but you have to work at it. Meditate, clear your mind, work on your pre-sleep state because most of the images will come to you in pre-sleep.
Yeah, something I've been doing is like sleep programming. So I'll have one major question that I'm trying to get answered,
Mhm.
and then I dwell on that, and then I usually have a dream that answers that question.
Right, they're answering you. So that is, you are asking and being answered. That no, if you're doing that, you got a good shot at it.
Yeah, I've noticed that. So the only thing that's come naturally to me is astral projection, which kind of happened from a young age.
Well, that's a tough one. If you're doing
Yeah,
that, you're ready to go.
and I wouldn't even say that I'm like an expert at that. It's just I can set up conditions that make it happen, but it's still not 100% in my control.
Mhm.
But I began trying to communicate with guides, angels, etc. in the last year or so. And at first there's nothing, but if you keep doing it, all of a sudden you start getting answers. And I think the
Actually,
first
right.
place right, yeah, in the first place you start to get answers is in the physical world. So
Yeah.
with numbers and synchronicities and things that can't be explained away.
You wake up at 3:33 in the morning, for instance, because that's God's
Yeah,
numbers.
right, exactly. And
And
and that the numbers is it seems for me to be a pretty big communication mechanism, and it's almost like they're setting up the mechanism for communication
oh,
through the
absolutely.
numbers.
No, I
Yeah,
guarantee it for you.
right. Okay, good, good.
No, I'm hearing it. You are they're you're doing really well, and you're going to be able to accomplish this.
That's good. Yeah, well, that's good to know. I have a lot of doubts about a lot of things, as we all do.
Well, that's a part of it. That's
Right, right.
you, overcoming your doubt is the biggest step to having them come forward to help.
Mhm.
When you eliminate all doubts about the existence of God, the guides, of what's taking place around you, now you've opened the door to learning. Everybody learns facts in their life. Very few turn those facts into knowledge. And you cannot do it without the help of your spiritual guides.
Now, I had a thought yesterday, and it maybe I'm right. I wanted to verify it with you. So the um a lot of people will ask for intervention or something from the other side. And but they don't really believe it, that maybe they're halfway there. They believe it enough to ask. But is it true to say that the other side doesn't want to interact with us to not infringe on our free will to some extent because we have some kind of blueprint and we sort of need to get ourselves to believe it before it happens?
They will try to influence you to follow your life plan. That is where they want you to be. And if you don't follow that life plan, then you will not learn the lessons you're supposed to learn. Now, there are people that don't follow their life plans but live good lives and they do well. But an atheist will never follow his life plan because he doesn't pray for guidance and he doesn't receive guidance. So the closer you are to God, the more spirituality, the more the guides will help you and lead you. The more that you open your mind, the whole foundation is faith. You build whatever you do in life, you build on a foundation of faith. Or the other side is you don't. When you don't, you're totally making your own decisions. When you have true faith and doubt is gone, then you will be utterly amazed at how much guidance you get in your life.
Yeah, that's something I'm trying to learn right now. And relearn it over and over and over again
They're
because you
telling
learn
me
it.
you're doing a pretty good job at it.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good because I've been trying to get, the a better line of communication between me and the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's good validation for
You
that.
want you want to talk to your guide?
That'd be awesome if you're willing to, if you can.
Sure. We want you to know that we are very proud of what you are trying to accomplish. You have come far. You still have minor doubt. We hope that this conversation today will eliminate all doubt for you in the future. You have been sent back to do good things for others. As you advance and as you lay this foundation and follow what you are doing, you will know that we are truly with you. Have no doubts. Know that your abilities are much greater than you believe. When you ask for me, and I am your master guide, ask for me in prayers tonight, and I will try to appear to you in dream. You are making great advancements. Do not underestimate. So I hope this conversation will help you to the future.
Thank you for that.
There you go. That's how it works.
That's awesome. So before we close up, I got one last question here. So from all of your experiences and the work that you've done, what is something that you've learned? I'm sure you've learned many things, but maybe one thing that you've learned that you want to share with people that about how to live a better life or anything really, just why we're here that you've learned from all of your work.
The one thing I've learned is that you must have a foundation of faith and belief. The greater that foundation, the more they will be able to help you from the other side. Don't don't waste your time being around negative people. Be positive. Listen to the basic command of don't do anything you don't want done to you. Help others, and you will be so blessed.
Thank you for that. So, if people want to reach out to you or check out your books, check out your YouTube channel, your website, where should they go to do all of that?
Uh, well, the YouTube channel is in my name, Barry Strohm. So just to stick my name up. If you want to see all the books, you put Barry Strohm books in Amazon, and they all come up there. And I have a website, barrystrom.com. So it's all coincidence, you see. If you want a personalized book, you have to come onto the website for it. We're doing a new podcast. It's called Hello Heaven. We do that Friday nights. We do a weekly message from Jesus on Wednesday mornings. We do a Sunday sermon on Sundays, and we do channeling history on Sunday nights. And we put all of the shows up. The archives, all the shows are on YouTube. So not too hard to find if you want.
Oh yeah, it's very easy to find your stuff. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, Barry.
Hey, it was fun, actually. I enjoyed it. Thank you.